Hello and welcome everyone to the Authoritas Tea Time SEO, where we get together every day at 4 p.m. We encourage you all to take a break, grab your cup of tea perhaps as well, connect with others and learn something new. I'm SEO Joe Blogs Growth Market at Authoritas, and we also have Carrie Shepherd here, Marketing Executive. Today we have some great speakers lined up, all to be sharing some insightful tips all about creating meaningful SEO dashboards. We have Aleksandra, Hannah, and Nitin. I'll pass over to Aleksandra, who will introduce herself, and then we'll have Hannah, Nitin, and then they'll follow on by sharing their insightful tips about creating meaningful SEO dashboards. Thank you everyone for joining. Oh, hello Lawrence. Hello Marit. Please drop your questions in the chat. Any questions, and they will come back to you. Oh, good. Good, Marit. I'm glad you got your tea ready. So, and hello Azim. I'll pass over to Ola now. Oh, that's a great mug, Nitin. I feel sad just seeing it. And hello Stephanie and Charlotte. Yay, you're finally a day when you're free at 4 p.m. Great. Thank you all. Let me pass over to Ola now for her introduction.
Hello, I'm Aleksandra, and I'm SEO Analyst at Bluerank. Bluerank is an online marketing agency from Poland. And for now, I'm working with our SEO department, previously with Web Analytics or Marketing Analytics department. And now I'm really focused on data-driven content marketing and SEO. Actually, I've joined our SEO team to kind of develop a new approach to rebuild all the reporting process, add some new nice reports maybe, and create also in-house tools.
Cool. Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm one of the business directors over at Found. We're a digital growth marketing agency, normally based in central London, but now based all over the place. So my role is really about integrating what we do in SEO with other channels and making sure that clients are really happy with what we do. So a big part of my day-to-day is ensuring we're reporting on the very best data, and then we're actually getting insight out of that to drive forward some really cool strategies. So I'll share some of the ways we do that with you. And I'll hand over to Nitin.
Hi, that's me. I'm Nitin. I'm working for a travel tech base in Berlin. It's called Omeo. And we are going through a rough phase right now because of COVID-19, but that's all right. I have a lot of time to learn new things, acquire new skills. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm building some cool products like PDF Doctor, which I mentioned in the last line of my introduction here. So pdfdoctor.com, it's already live. So just take a look at it and let me know if you have any feedback for me. And then I started my professional journey back in 2012 as a software developer. And then I did product management. And now I'm doing SEO only. And yeah, and then I love automation. I love scalability and technical and international SEO. And I've been doing reporting and creating these dashboards for quite some time, but I've never spoke about this topic. So this is the first time I'm speaking about it. Excited, a bit nervous because I have two amazing experts with me who are talking about great stuff. So looking forward to it.
Okay, so let's start. Once again, hello everyone. Today I'm gonna share with you my 3 favorite tips worth following if you want to know more about effectiveness of your SEO and content efforts. The first tip is blended, which basically means merge the data, because combining your data sets can reveal valuable relationships between them. For example, personally, I really like analyzing paid and organic search phrases together to find some gaps and discover new keyword ideas. You can also combine metrics from Google Analytics and Search Console to avoid non-provided results in GA account and know more about conversion value of specific keywords or landing pages. To have these possibilities, all you need to do is to connect your Search Console and Google Ads with Google Analytics inside the admin panel. But if you want to enhance your reports even more, just use Data Studio and its feature called data blending. Thanks to this option, you will be able to combine SEO and conversion metrics in one table or chart, as you can see in my example. Okay, great. Please notice scroll depth. If you want to measure scrolls and you already have Google Tag Manager container, all you need to do is to fire an event using this tool. The configuration is super easy, and scroll depth will be very useful for analyzing your product lists or on-site content, for example. This leads me to my next tip related to enhancing content reports. Comparing sessions or conversion rates of your articles sounds, of course, like very good idea, but you can take your analysis to the next level by creating some segments and explore patterns. I really recommend you adding text parameters to your reports. Then you will be able to know which author is the most effective, or maybe if you need to write longer posts, blog posts, or texts for your categories or products. To know more about non-standard data, check custom dimensions or content grouping feature in Google Analytics. But an alternative way to collect custom text parameters is gathering them during site crawl. Just ask your IT team if they are able to count words or find author in your HTML code. Possibly they have a lot of time right now. So I really recommend you to ask them and try crawl and grab some custom data from your content section. Analyzing custom data may lead to very interesting conclusions. As you can see here, longer text doesn't always mean better text. Let's quickly move to my second example. As can be seen, Thorpe's article is an evergreen. So adding some internal links or updating the content would be a really nice idea here. Now I'd like to move on to my last tip, explore the paths. In short, I want to encourage you all to look at multi-channel reports in Google Analytics, especially two of them, assisted conversions and top conversion paths. By choosing landing page as primary dimension in your report, here we can see a sample data set from Google Merchandise Store. So by choosing this landing page dimension, you will be able to get the whole picture and see how, for example, your blog affects whole conversion paths, not only last click transaction. That's all. So to sum it up, I really recommend you merging your data sets, adding custom data, and exploring multi-channel funnels. Our tagline in Bluerank is plan, play, and win. And I'm wishing you to make good plans, play with your data, and then win and have the best results. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. That's really tough to follow. Right. I've got 3 tips for you all that I've kind of grouped roughly. So the first one is just segmenting your data. And for that, there's kind of 3 core areas that I'd say to focus on. The first is using like basic content groupings. So make sure that you're building those out in analytics based on your site structure. In particular, if you're unlucky enough that maybe you have inconsistent folder structures and elements like that, actually starting to build them up manually, as well as using some of the regex you can to automate those too. It's just going to help you in understanding how your content's performing and understanding the different parts of the site. We find this really useful because normally we're working on big sites and like huge e-commerce sites and things like that, where actually you can't get much insight at a page level, and you want to kind of group it together and look at kind of broad reaching trends. But also segment things as much as you can into brand and non-brand. So we would recommend, can you go back one? Sorry. We'd recommend doing that, thank you, doing that by Google Search Console if you can, and then tagging up which of your pages are typically brand and non-brand as well. And then you can do that in a more advanced way by looking at each stage of the journey. So if we jump to the next slide, you'll see something that I've ripped off from a company called the Colouring In Department. You should definitely check them out if you're interested, because they have a really good blog on this that's linked to there. And they also sell some really good GA training courses. And you can see here that they suggest you can actually try and segment your content into the stage of awareness, base how you're segmenting it on the keyword modifiers that you're using, and then you can kind of see where the customer's at, and actually setting up content groupings along those lines is something that we've rolled out at Found. We find it really interesting for actually being able to say, well, actually, it's when we're at problem awareness point that's dropped in performance, rather than just saying this section of the blog dropped. And it helps us kind of understand where we could be falling down. And then moving on to the next tip. For me, it's really about integrating as many other data sources as you can. So we try and include within our dashboards a bit of a feed from Google Trends, so we can show instant market insight and instant demand changes for them. Obviously, you can do that with search volume, but the data is a bit delayed and also a bit inaccurate. So we like to use Google Trends as just a directional measure. Tying in your phone calls and offline inquiries into those dashboards to making sure that like every element is tied in. So at Found, we use Response Tap, but there's loads of options out there for that. And then integrating it with your CRM wherever possible. So you can see on the next slide that kind of mapped out. Oh, the colors maybe didn't work as well, but you can see that you want to kind of have that MQL ID tie up from your data collection point into when you're kind of enhancing and feeding back into it qualified leads. I focused here on actually just B2B, because B2C tends to be a bit easier, because normally it tends to just be a direct transaction online. So if you're working on inquiries, making sure you have the consistent IDs mapped and you can follow the whole of your journey, it'll be a game changer for you in how you then apply that to your optimization. So make sure you're talking about those full journeys at every stage in your dashboard. And then my third tip, which is all about adding external insight and annotations as well. So I put this one in because I think they're not listening. I had a client the other day say, we don't need to annotate anything about COVID on our GA because we'll always remember this happened. And I was like, but people will join the workforce in a few years' time who weren't in it before and won't realize the impact it had. So I think it's important that you annotate all this sort of thing on your analytics and feed that through to your dashboards. So we like to include industry benchmarks to compare against wherever we can, external data like weather or news stories. So we work for a lot of furniture companies. And with the furniture companies, what we find is that like actually they're really impacted by if a bank holiday is hot or cold. So we make sure that we start factoring that into what we put in analytics so we can track trends better. And then any visual changes that Google's making and any Google volatility. So if you start to see like Mozcast or what other tools have that they predict how much the search is changing, every rank tracker has their own version of it. What you want to do is call out exactly when you're seeing huge flux and see if that's impacting your data. The next slide just shows you an example of one of the ways we did that with a client. You can see it's quite small, but what we did is we scraped Google News results using advanced query operators. We were searching for anything to do with like cybersecurity or cyber attack in the healthcare sector. And you can see the number of articles published per day. And then this justifies why they had a sudden uplift in demand in healthcare. And so we add this sort of insight into our dashboards to show that we should be factoring in just more and thinking about kind of the trends in their markets as well. And that was everything from me.
That was brilliant. I mean, so many great tips from both of them. Yeah, I was nervous, and I think rightly. Anyway, so moving to the topic and starting with my first tip here. So I'm going very generic here. I'm talking about the process that you should follow before thinking about any dashboard. So my first tip would be one size doesn't fit all. So whenever you're thinking about dashboard, you cannot think about one dashboard for all the stakeholders. So think about, and can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So the second tip would be list down all the SEO KPIs, like all of them. So you can think about SEO revenue, site speed, because site speed is now officially a ranking factor. So you're probably concerned about that as well. So think about site speed, status of your SEO projects, Google Search Console summary, and maybe if you're using deep crawl, on crawl, SEMrush, all these amazing tools, you can think about summarizing the data from there into your dashboard, because those are the numbers you want to keep an eye on. So think about all the KPIs. For example, SEO revenue here. So your management might want to see that number in your dashboard, but developers, are they really concerned about SEO revenue? Maybe they're not. Maybe they are, right? And site speed numbers. Well, if you're saying this to your CEO, hey, we improved from 65 to 67. He doesn't care about that. So management really doesn't care about these like internal numbers, but your development team or maybe your SEO team who are responsible for this initiative, they really care about it. So think about all the possible KPIs, and yeah, just create that one massive list which covers all the KPIs. And then in tip number 3, list down all the stakeholders. Yes, all of them. So management, SEO team from marketing side, because SEO team from marketing side would have different expectations than SEO team from the tech side, right? And then your PR team, brand team, or maybe your content team, if it's a separate team in your organization. So think about all the teams, think about all the stakeholders, and create a massive list which covers all your stakeholders as well. So now what you have is, that you cannot think about one dashboard that makes everyone happy. So here now you have a list of all the stakeholders, and you have a list of all the KPIs as well. And then in tip number 4, I would ask you to do a simple exercise which is connecting both the columns. So here it is many to many connection. So for example, site speed. Who would be interested in that? Maybe developers who are working on that, or maybe SEO from marketing side, because they're really owning this topic and they want to see how we are progressing. So just connect the dots. And management, for example, they might be interested in, they might be looking for SEO revenue and overall sessions you're doing. And then maybe like for some companies, CRO metrics as well. So all these metrics. And then maybe if you have a SEO product team or other product teams who want to see how the conversion is on SEO landing pages. So think about those KPIs as well, and then connect them with them. So now in the end, after this exercise, you would have different, you would have different dashboard requirements for different stakeholders. And once you do that, then it's awesome. Everyone is happy. And then you can there is like 100% transparency on what you're doing and how things are moving. So no one would have any questions, and everyone is happy. They know where to look for the data they want. It's as simple as that. Yeah, that's it from my side.
That's great. Thank you very much. Some wonderful tips from everyone. And I just want to say hello to a few people that have joined us since, before I hand over to Carrie for some of the questions. So hello, Sarah, and hello, Azim and Andy and Paul. Thank you all for joining. Maret, Kirsten and Jacob. Great to see you all, Flo and Charlotte and Stephanie. So I'll pass over to Carrie. We've got some comments in the chat. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Joe. So Andy actually is asking if you're all on Twitter. If Joe goes to the next slide, then we have all of the Twitter handles for everyone. Thank you. So first we have a question for Ola. are you putting all of this into Google Data? Sorry, how can you start pulling data into Google Data Studio?
Oh, I think you're muted. Oh, wait.
Yeah, okay. Now it's okay. For Google Tools, and there are already predefined connectors, so you can put your data into Data Studio in a very easy way from analytics, from Google Ads, and from Search Console as well. You can also use custom import to add some of your files, CSV files or Google Docs as well.
Great, thank you. We have a question from Azim for any of you. What is the best way, in your experience, to make these reports readable or engaging? And Lawrence added to that, saying, any thoughts on how to get C-level executives to actually read your SEO reports or log in regularly to your dashboards?
I would jump in there and say ask them. So like, we have template reports obviously that we would like to use, but we generally say to clients like, are you a spreadsheet person, or do you want it in a dashboard, or do you want a PowerPoint, or do you want an email? And like what we quite often find is like C-level actually normally want a graph put in an email with like 3 bullet points and that's it. And then our day-to-days want a lot more in depth. And we kind of structure it in that way, and keep asking and keep refreshing and keep showing them other reports. So we'll quite often take another report and black out all the data and say, actually, do you prefer this format? Have you thought about this? Just in ways that we know work, and keep nagging them and follow up with a phone call. They'll always avoid them wherever possible.
It's great.
Yeah, I think I would totally agree with what Hannah mentioned here. So for you, the motivation should be what the person would understand from your report. The goal should be the person who is reading this report should be able to understand 100% of it. And you should not feel that he missed something, right? So for example, if you're showing a very generic and then a very helicopter view report to somebody who understands SEO, who wants to know more details about it, this person won't be happy probably about it. But management, for example, or somebody who just wants to see the overview, like how SEO is performing in general, and if you're showing this person like all the details which is not interested in, then that won't be a good idea either, because this person is only interested in seeing, you know, what the performance score is, and that's it. And if you're saying, hey, we implemented internal linking, and now we have improved our in rank, but he doesn't care about all these buzzwords. He only cares about traffic. He only cares about revenue, right? So think about what is your audience who is going to read a particular report, and how exactly you should present this data, and what kind of buzzwords you should use, or maybe you should not use any buzzwords at all. So yeah, that would be my tip here.
Yeah, I think the tips from Andy and Azim are pretty awesome. I think we can start from building kind of personas inside our organization, and then to pair persona with KPI. That's the simple way.
Great, that's useful. Thank you, everyone. We have a question for Hannah. How important is Google Trends and using industry benchmarks for your reporting?
Okay, firstly, can you hear me? Because my computer just completely blacked out, so we've switched to phone. Great tech problems. In terms of using Google Trends, like, I think we always repeat the same thing to clients, which is think of these things as directional. They're not absolute numbers. They are not something to base everything off. But when you're working with Google, when you have such a limited access to maybe the trend data you want, I think it's quite a good indicator. We normally use it as kind of an initial, and then we kind of try and start building that up with the industry insights and like the scraping techniques for other people publishing content. And we also we use Content King, which is like a permanent site crawler that alerts you of changes on competitor sites. and we will track a huge number of competitor sites in it and use it as an alert system for when they start shifting strategy based on a trend to kind of give us like a market trends kind of benchmark thing.
Great, thank you. Ola, do you have any suggestions for any Google Data Studio courses that people could do maybe? You're muted again.
Yeah, sorry. I'm reading the comments and I'm so into it. Okay. I think offshore Google courses are quite nice, but what's the most important when it comes to Data Studio, you need to try. Just start building your own report. Google shares with us some predefined templates. They are really pretty and really useful. So you can just take one of them and try to rebuild it with your own design and with your own metrics. I think that's the easiest way to know this tool.
Great. We've got one last question from Azim. So a question about Google Data Studio for anyone. What's the best solution or alternative that you found to get around loading, slow loading reports?
I'm going to sound really naive here because I actually don't understand how it works. But if you want to reach out to me afterwards, I can get someone from our data team to explain it. But I know that we use Supermetrics and we run it through BigQuery, and it accelerated all of our reports massively because we were having that problem of them all being far too slow. But I could not tell you how they implemented it.
Okay,
yeah,
so we can reach out to you on Twitter then.
Query would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you to talk to someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think you shouldn't use Google Docs if it's possible, because Google Docs connector is the slowest one, in my opinion. Yeah, that's the best. And as Hannah mentioned, if you have the possibility to use BigQuery, that will speed up your reports as well.
Anything you'd like to add, Nitin?
No, I think I'm good on this topic.
Okay, great. I think that's everything we have time for today. Back over to Joe.
Thank you very much, Kerry. Yeah, so we've had some great comments here. I think there's one from Andy saying that he uses a short URL for the reports so he can track who actually is opening them. That's quite a nice one, so that you can actually, see what people are.
That's sneaky.
Who's watching? Well, I think it's good because I know one time in an agency, one person was spending 1 week a month doing this daily report, and nobody was reading it. And Sarah, you were saying that you'd say you'd recommend get department heads excited about the KPIs and use them to convert upwards. That's quite a nice tip as well, you said. And then you said you have monthly catch-ups with the team, and then they talk through things, so that's great. And Lawrence was talking about by engine beating Google Data Studio and using the BigQuery and pay attention to data structure and format, so the normalized data. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. We've got some nice recommendations or some comments from other people, like Charlotte. You can also set up Google Data Studio property in GA to see how many people are actually looking at your dashboards. Fantastic. So we have some great insights. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming today. Big round of applause for our speakers, Hannah, Aleksandra, and Nitin, for coming on today. And tomorrow, of course, we have our Tea Time SEO. We have with Marit, who is in the audience here today, and Sarah, too. So it's great. They'll both be talking about email marketing and the key things to implement. So thank you very much, all of you, and see you tomorrow, Sarah and Marit.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.